Okay, fourth graders here at Plant Hill. This is Dr. Price, and I am bringing you part 2 of our ELA lesson for the week, where we're dealing with setting and details of a story. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. If you haven't watched the first part, then you need to go back to the YouTube channel and watch part 1, because it will be most important to understanding what we are doing today. So we are talking about events in the story, why that's important, the order that they happen in, and how we can use the setting where the story takes place, well, how we can use the problem and the solution in our event, in the events, in the order to figure out and comprehend what we're reading, basically. So we're going to first read this story called Meeting Grandma by Jillian Adams. Several years ago, when I was about 7, my grandma flew to St. Louis to visit us. That summer, it was so blazingly hot that we rarely bothered to go outside. So naturally, we were thrilled to go with our parents to pick her up from the airport. The airport was a new experience to my brother and me. We rushed excitedly from one shop to another, fascinated by all the things anyone with money could buy. Eventually, we turned our attention to the restaurants, pleading for a pretzel, ice cream, and a cold drink, anything. Our parents finally agreed to buy us each a fruit smoothie. We thought carefully about the flavors. Blueberry, strawberry, banana, what to choose? After a while, we made up our own minds and we ordered. Then the server was so slow in preparing the drinks. But finally, the delicious concoctions were ready. Gratefully, we sank into our seats and began slurping them down. They were really cold, so we took our sweet time. And that is where Grandma found us 20 minutes later. We had completely lost track of the time. Grandma's plane had arrived, and worried that we were lost, she had come in search of us. So we're going to look at what is the setting and how does it influence the story characters and events in Meeting Grandma. So of course, if you're thinking about the setting and you're thinking about this story, where did it take place? I'm going to give you a second. All you have to do is look at the picture. Where did it say this story took place? If you said the airport, you were right. There's an airplane. You can see that it's at the airport, and there's the towers. They show where they're flying in and out of. So we're going to put a text box here, and we're going to say that the setting takes place in an airport. Just a little bit of grammar for you there. We use an because the airport, the A starts with, airport starts with a A, which is a vowel. So you always start instead of A, you don't want two A's together. So you use in. So in an airport is where the story happens. And we could say it would be in the terminal where the stores are. We can exaggerate, tell it a little bit more, expand. That's the word I'm looking for. We can expand on it. So where the stores are, because it says they buy some Slurpees after a while. So let's go back and look at what's happening in this story. It says the airport was a new experience and we rushed. They went to the airport. They were picking up Grandma from the airport and they were going around the shops. So our first event is, I would say, they were exploring the airport shops while they were waiting on Grandma to arrive from her plane. Next, what happens? Well, let's go back and see. So it says that here we wrote this, they're exploring the stores, but now they begin pleading for a pretzel, ice cream, and cold anything. and the parents finally agreed. So I'm going to say that my next important events that happened were the children were pleading for something cold and sweet. Well, let's make sure I use the words they use. They were pleading for pretzel ice cream and a cold drink. So let's say, oh, I didn't mean to do that. I want to come over here and click on this. They were pleading for a cold drink, a pretzel, and what's the next one? Ice cream. And there's our little grammar lesson for the day, and ice cream. Then what happened? So in the story, I'm going to erase some of this just to make it clearer. In the story, it says that they got taking their sweet time. They were really, really cold, so we took our sweet time. And they basically, it said, lost track of time and forgot to go get Grandma, and she found them. So I'm going to say they lost track of time. I'm going to combine it, condense it all into one. So they lost track of time while, let's say while, eating their Slurpees. And Grandma thought they were lost and came looking for them. So now the question says, how does the setting affect the family's actions? And how does it lead to the last important event of the story? Why don't you run and tell your parent or a brother and sister? How does this setting, where the story takes place in the airport, how does it affect the family's actions? What were the actions? They ran around the airport and to the stores looking around, which made them really want something to drink and an ice cream, something cold, because they must have been hot. How does all of that lead up to the last action? It says they lost track of time while eating the Slurpees, and Grandma thought they were lost and came looking for her. I'm going to give you a second. You can pause this and run and tell your brother, sister, tell your dog, tell your grandparents, tell your mom and dad. All right, so how do we think it affected them? Well, I'm going to say it made them lose track of time and they forgot what they were there for, which was to pick up Grandma. Poor Grandma. Grandma had to come find them. And the reason would be, because we got to expand on it a little bit, the reason would be the airport had so much to explore. It wasn't really a boring place. It was a place where they could explore. All right, so now your job is on a piece of paper to describe down here at the story response. So we want you to describe the story setting of meeting Grandma and describe the way it affected the characters and events. Include details from the story to support your response and use this, well, not use the space because you don't have it, but use a piece of paper. Then you need to take a picture and email that back to your teacher. Use some of the information we put in our chart and on our question number 2. And we will see you next week with some brand new lessons. Bye, guys.